All right, so I've been thinking about this Svartpilen for a while. So I have ridden the bike a little bit, just kind of took it for a couple like canyon runs and like just to, I guess, normal, typical daily riding. And it's a good bike. It's a great bike. I love the aesthetics of the bikes. I love, how snappy it feels, even though it has a small engine. And so far I just love the fit and finish. Like I feel like for such a somewhat of a cheap bike, I mean, I don't want to say cheap in a bad context, but somewhat of a bike that it's affordable. um Man, I believe that this is an amazing bike. The fit and finish is awesome. Like the components on the suspension are great. There's a lot of like aftermarket support. Like I don't have anything bad to say about it. It just took me a second to get kind of into the bike, primarily because the small cc engine, because I came from kind of bigger bikes, CX14 thousands, whatever it is, and this one particularly just took me a second just to kind of get used to. The fact that a vid pilling exists makes me always want to go back and see that amazing streamline kind of feel and like look that a vid peeling has. For example, if you look the side profile from a var peeling, you'll see the bars, and then when you look at vid peeling, you almost see like everything is flat. It just looks so futuristic. And I always had a soft spot for cafe racers, and I feel this is a very decent, like the vid peeling is a very decent rendition of a modern cafe racer. The good thing about it is, if you didn't know, is var peeling and vid peeling, everything on the chassis is the same, engine, everything is the same. The only difference is essentially the bars, and which the vid peeling has clip-ons, and the Svar peeling has bar. So besides that, and the tires that came from factory, on a Svar peeling, since it's a more dual road type of bike, they are the SDR tires, and then on the vid peeling they just come with like street tires because it's a more canyon oriented bike. You know what? It's amazing to me, the fact that I can have two bikes into one. So I'm actually embracing that today. And thank you to my sponsor Woodcraft, I actually acquired some clip-ons that I'm going to be installing. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, come on, Richard, you can probably go to eBay, buy the triple tree or the top triple tree, and then just like get the parts for a spark peeling. And that's true, and I can do that. But to be quite honest, I was actually going to end up paying a little bit more than these bars, which are brand new and an amazing company actually makes, and they make them here in the USA. So I just really wanted to kind of go ahead and do that, and I love the fact that I can do something a little bit more. I don't want to say custom, but it's more my taste versus just doing exactly what's available for the bike. So today I'm going to be installing clip-ons. And if you want to know what exactly is what I'm going to be installing, I'll be more than happy to put it on the description and kind of walk you through some of the items that I'm going to be doing and the stuff that I'm going to be doing today.
Might not be completely necessary, but I wanted to remove the headlight in order to get more access. So there are two bolts in the back, two bolts in the front at the top, so you can remove the headlight. And then I remove the plastic cover that's kind of covering and hiding most of the cables that are behind the headlight. So I just remove all the bolts, and I just remove all of that so I can get some flexibility when installing the clip-ons.
These steps are very specific to the fact that I'm doing, a custom installation on a vid peel, on a Svar peeling. But essentially, these are the clamps that you get from Woodcraft. So you can see, the engraving. So these two pieces go together, and then the actual part that's going to be holding the clip-ons is going to be attaching. So normally you wouldn't have to remove all of this, but I did it because I want to get some clearance this area right here. So what I'm going to do is just to move this a little bit to the side. So I got rid of this so I can have a little bit more, I guess, flexibility here. Okay, so I'm gonna move this out of the way a little bit, and I'll squeeze the first part here. Perfect. So it's now here. So what I'm going to do is just to bring and marry the other side. There's a very convenient L on the top here, so exactly the side that you're going to be installing. I'm just gonna be tightening these bolts by hand for now. Okay, so tighten this one a little bit more. And I want to do a little bit on both sides, so it's kind of closing at the same rate. Okay, perfect. So it's still allowing me to move it a little bit. The long bolts are going to go here, and then they provide all the hardware for the other ones as well. I'm gonna leave it like that, and I'm just gonna bring the bar so I can start kind of playing with, the positioning before we continue moving on the next direction. Started. So right now, I just want to have enough leverage so I can move it whenever I want to, whenever I get a chance to get on the bike. Now I'm going to repeat the process on this side. We're going to install the right clamp, and then we're just going to move to removing the bars, which is probably something that you all have to do if you are transitioning from a Svartpilen to a Vitpilen.
Same process as the other side, and at this point I'm just finalizing the last bolt and bringing my bar so I can match the handlebar.
All right, so there's no denying that this is what 7-8 inches, difference between the original bar from a Svartpilen versus the actual bars or the clip-ons that we just installed. A good benefit that you have with these bars is the fact that, like I said, this is a modular system, so you can get higher bars. So if I like the look, but I want to get bars that are a little bit sitting a little bit higher so that I don't have to put so much weight on my wrist, I can, get this part with an extended instead of just being flush. This one is a 1 inch, so I can get a 2 inch or I can get a 3 inch, and they can go a little bit up, but they still feel like the streamlined, look that I'm actually going for with this bar. So as of right now, I'm not too concerned. I'm just gonna match the handlebars, like the actual angle, and I'll leave it like that for now. And then I'm just gonna get into removing the handlebars.
You can follow the best process that you think it's best for removing the handlebar. But in my case, I'm going to be removing the clamp so that I can get some mobility on the handlebar, and then I'm going to go into the controls and finally the actual grips so I can remove the handlebar.
All right, so now that I have everything loose besides the grips, this is loose, so is this. So I'm just going to remove the clamp so that I can move the handlebar forward, and then you'll see how I'm gonna try to slide the controls on the other side, with all the speed assembly or the accelerator assembly, and then I'll just deal with removing this grip, which I think I'm gonna still reusing on this. All right, although this is still not ready, I'm gonna take a quick look at how the bike feels. I love it. It's really like leaning forward, but I love it. All right, so now what I'm going to do is just to remove the clamp that it was holding the handlebar before, which is consists of a nut at the bottom, and then it has a hex. I want to say it's like either an 8 at the top. So I'm just going to be removing that, which is going to leave a hole here, which is perfect for maybe camera mount, phone mount, a lot of stuff that you can do with this in here. So this is amazing.
All right, with the clip-ons installed, this is the perfect time for us to put everything back together in the front of the bike so I can finalize the adjustments of the clip-ons. All right, so this is the reverse order of everything we did with the handlebar. Nothing changes for the most part. You're almost dealing with the same real estate that you had on your handlebar. We're just kind of adapting everything for, kind of putting everything on the bar, but essentially it's the same as removing it from the handlebar. So nothing different. The diameter is the same. You just have to play with ensuring that
you are planning, the way you're going to get your peripherals or your controls on the clip-ons, very similar to the same way you took them out from your handlebar. Another important area is just to confirm that you're not going to be hitting the tank. So this is the perfect time for me to check, the limit, either left and right. And I'm going to show you how close it is, but I managed to get it in a perfect place where I'm not going to be hitting nor on the left or the right. It's close, man. So you can now probably appreciate the slim look that I was going through, like just as a bit pilling, just looking for that like flush kind of view, or not view, that flush kind of stance and like profile, I guess, for the bike. So everything is still like somewhat loose, so I can make final adjustments, but I feel good with my controls are. And now I have everything like in here. So the next thing I have to do is just to figure out um, what type of mirrors I'm going to be running, because I'm not running stocks anymore. So I was running, kind of bar ends, and then I didn't want to like ruin my profile. So I was thinking about having some that the ones that are coming at the bottom. So I just have a couple options. I will have to kind of remove these plastic covers so I can get some sort of like expander on the inside with a thread, so I can put some bar end mirrors or something like that. So I have a few options. So now I'm just gonna look into that. But essentially, this is the installation. So I'm just gonna go ahead and torque everything down now, and bleed my brakes and take the bike for a spin. All right, these modifications really, really get me excited. Primarily because I almost feel like I have two bikes into one, and that's not something that you can get all the time. And not every bike reacts the same way. And I guess this is not me customizing my Svartpilen, because essentially these bikes already exist. I just did it with parts that were not meant for this bike, but just to show you that you can, do your research, and that should give you, the result that you want, as long as you're kind of understanding what's behind the whole method of, working on the bike and whatnot. All right, so this is the final product, and I show you better pictures. But essentially, if you look from the cockpit, you're looking from the top, and what you're looking at, it's a Svartpilen with 51 millimeter in diameter clamp from Woodcraft. You can see the W there. And they are paired with a normal size bar, because they also sell. This is a 7/8 on the diameter, but they also sell extra large, which you can give you more access to, more accessories and other stuff, which I might end up doing. And then on this side, the same approach, same bar. I just had them kind of, in the same angle on both sides. And at this point, I just jumped on the bike and kind of, look at what I was looking at, the right positioning, so that I know this is exactly what I was looking for. And then if I show you from the front, I explained it earlier, but this is, composed of, three different parts. So you have the two halves that are the clamp, that are kind of hugging the forks, and then you have this piece, which it's all separate. So if you ever break something, you can only buy this instead of having to buy the whole entire kit. So which, super beneficial for the future if you're in a racing plan or whatnot. And then you have, super nice hardware that's actually going into the halves. And then you have, the 1 inch, I guess, extension from where the actual clamp is sitting. Then you have this bolt that's actually just closing and adding pressure to the bar just to keep it in place without no rotation or anything else. And then you can kind of see the same type of setup on this side. So you see the bolt on each side, this side, and then on the back side as well as the two bolts that are holding the clamp onto the other clamp that's bracing or hogging the fork diameters, the forks. And then right here, you have the actual bar. And I guess the big question is, Richard, why did you get a Svartpilen if what you wanted was a bit? Svartpilen was the one that was available at the time, and I was kind of planning on doing a lot of like dual off-roading. I have a dedicated kind of dirt bike that I have to trailer. And then this one, it's set up in a way now, which super easy because it's a matter of like changing tires and whatnot. So this one, it's set up right now with Svartpilen tires, which are kind of dual purpose tires, and then the bars, which give me that type of bike that I want, kind of setup and configuration that I wanted. You can do that with a Svartpilen. With a Vitpilen, you can just put like knobby tires people have done it. Like there's nothing special about it. Right now, this I love it because it's not an easy like, oh, an hour and I can just take the clip-ons and put a handlebars on. It might take me more than an hour, but if I want to, and I get tired of like being hunched over of the bike, then I can just easily just kind of transition into bars, or I can get higher bars or higher clamps, and I can just like remove them, add them, and then I can decide whether or not I want to go 1 inch, 2 inches, or whatever, and that's just going to give me that functionality and adjustability that I'm looking for. So right now I'm in love with this bike. Like I said, this is stuff that you can do on your own. You can also buy the triple tree or the top triple from a vid peeling and do the same thing. But to be quite honest, it was going to cost me more based on the parts that are readily available. And this way, I have it in a way where if I want to switch back to Svartpilen bars, I can do it without having to mess with the top triple, and I can just remove this, and that's it. Like it's fairly easy to. All right, so I finally bled the brakes and we are ready to go.